All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. Conscious Approach is in the building. Dogon SSJV wins. We are here on our world famous YouTube channel once again. Shouts out to everybody who's been hitting that subscribe button. This week on the channel was historic, not in the grand scheme of the internet because we know we but small time, but for our purposes, this week was an historic week. So we appreciate everybody who's hitting that subscribe button, man. We do this to build community and just embrace diversity of thought. So for anyone out there who is cynical or skeptical about this channel, I can't speak for other channels, but just to set the record straight, guys, we do this for fun. We don't make a dime doing this. We're not making money. We're not seeking any kind of deal. We just do this to kick the shit because it's fun. So I don't want people out there feeling like, we trying to do this for attention. Because I'll be seeing some of them comments on some of these videos that we put out here. I don't reply or respond to everything, but I see them. I read them. Trust me. And you got some people who want to talk about how we doing this for attention and so on and so forth. That could be further from the truth. If you know anything about us, that could be further from the truth. We just doing this to have fun and give our opinions on certain issues and topics going on in society. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there real quick. So with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead. Oh, I forgot. I teased the later topic, but we are going to go ahead and get started talking about Busta Rhymes, who was a performer at the Essence Fest this year. And during his set, he scolded the audience in attendance because he felt like they weren't given the right energy. He didn't like the way the people in the audience were sitting down. He wanted them to stand up. And he especially didn't like the fact that people were on their phones. He didn't take very much enjoyment in seeing people in the audience on their phones instead of paying attention to him during his performance. So he went off and he wanted people to put the phone down, so much so that he started calling people out individually in the crowd to put the phone down. So to provide a little context up first, this says Busta Rhymes goes off on Essence Festival crowd. F your phone. Recently, Busta Rhymes graced the stage at the 2024 Essence Festival in New Orleans. Unfortunately, however, not everyone was on the same page throughout the show. At one point, the New York City-born performer paused his set to call out crowd members for sitting down and filming on their phones. He didn't hold back, making it clear that he's not from an era where that was acceptable. So there's the quote there, but we'll just go ahead and play this clip from Neighborhood Talk on Instagram so that we can let Mr. Busta Rhymes speak for himself.
Hey, yo, fuck them camera phones too. Let's get back to interacting like humans. Put them weird-ass devices down. I ain't from that era. Them shits don't control the soul. Fuck your phone. Excuse me, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I will point every last one of y'all out until y'all asses is up. 33 years of doing this shit. I ain't used to niggas sit down at my show. I don't give a fuck. All age groups, get your ass up now. I see you, beautiful queen. Get up too. What the fuck going on? Everybody up top too. Get your big head asses up.
Oh.
Look, the reason why there will be zero tolerance for bullshit energy in here is because this is my first time in New Orleans at the fucking 30-year anniversary of the Essence Festival. This my first time. This my brother's first time. This my other brother's first time. That's right. Make me feel like we home.
But you,
Hey,
y'all was at Rock the Mic
you want to turn it up? Say turn it up. Say turn it up.
Shouts out to Unc the Hype Man. What that wasn't Spliff Star. Spliff Star was always Busta Rhymes' main hype man, but they ain't look like Spliff Star. So there's the quote there. The outburst has managed to spark a debate in the Neighborhood Talks comment section as commenters share their takes on the unexpected moment. While some think Busta Rhymes was in the right to call out the crowd, others think he took things too far. Some are also arguing that a majority of his fans are older and simply aren't looking to stand through an entire concert. We not in your era anymore, big dog. People paid to see you. Calm down, one Instagram user says. What he has to realize is that his main demographic is older as well. Another writes, they like to sit at concerts because they are older. What do you think of Busta Rhymes cursing out fans at Essence Fest for sitting and having their phones out? So, I guess I'll pose the question to you, man. What do you think of Busta Rhymes' outburst there? Is there something to his assertion that he's not from that era? He ain't used to that kind of energy or people being on their phones, and he wants humans to get back to interacting with humans.
I mean, I find it all hilarious. His reaction was absolutely hilarious. That's straight out of some type of TV show. I feel like somebody should cast that. I think the part about it that's the most funny, though. Now, I get that he's trying to get people to be more human and get off their phones. Like, that's relatable. I can understand that. I'm not besmirching that. But the whole fact that he went on this tirade, it seems as though that this is his first time being in New Orleans performing like this, and he wanted his ego boosted. But he's not performing. If he's performing at an Essence Fest thing, then he's not really, catering to his crowd in particular. So the people that are there, that's like, oh yeah, Busta Rhymes is going to be he's on the headliner. That's nice. I'll be there to watch him. Oh, he's on stage. Let me record it. Hey, I saw Busta Rhymes. But nobody really cares at this point for the people that's out there at that event for the most part. I would say that, yeah, that his stuff is like his stuff that really hit was basically in the 90s, early 2000s. And so, that's a kind of aged out kind of thing. And, even with his newer stuff, it is what it is. And one thing, so, and he has like a niche fan base, and that's fine. I'm pretty sure he's used to doing shows where he rocks it out and people know every word. if you want to act like the word what he's saying. But the thing is that nowadays, the older people, I don't really see us. We'll pull up. I mean, who really stand? I mean, I would stand up, if I really cared. So that's what, again, he needs to go to, one of his own personal things. He should have booked his own show in New Orleans, but you probably never came to New Orleans because nobody wanted to book you there. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that you don't really hit down there. That's what it is. So as you're down there and you're getting that kind of feedback, it is what it is. So the ego part about it, to me, where he's feeling like, hey man, I am who I am, and I'm ordering you to respect me, is out of touch and weird. But when you're somebody like him that's been literally a celebrity longer than he's been, alive, and so at that point, you're not in touch with reality anymore. You start getting BBLs and and Uncle, not Uncle, what'd you call that? Mr. Ed Veneers. And then you still feel like you got it. And so he go out there and he still feel like he got it, and he want people to get on their feet. And it's like, bro, nobody even understands what you're saying anymore. So I'm sorry, Busta. He was a favorite of mine when I was growing up. But he got industry and weird. And this is just the remnants of that, with his behaviors recently. So what are your thoughts, sir, on Sir Busta Rhymes going wild on stage? You down with his reaction there?
I am and I'm not. So there's two aspects of this, right? There's the people being on their phone. There's the phone, get off the phone and pay attention thing. And then there's the aged out part of it. So to the people being on their phone thing, this shows how, to me, in my opinion, I don't want to use the phrase out of touch. So I will say that this, to me, shows how inactive he as an individual artist has been in recent memory when it comes to live performances. Because if he had been performing live recently, he would be used to the fact that that's what people do nowadays. So it kind of sounds like he received some sort of a rude awakening during his performance when he realized this is what people do. They be on their phones all the time. It's like, yeah, bro, people, that's what people do. Like, narcissism is an acceptable form of behavior in today's society. It is narcissism is to normal behavior. Uh, it is synchronized to normal behavior the same way breathing is. People look to indulge in their various narcissistic tendencies the same way that they look to breathe air in order to survive. Like, that's what people do nowadays, is they just go narc mode. And it doesn't matter where they are. They can be at a show, they can be at a wedding, they can be in a movie theater, they can be they can be in the delivery room during a pregnancy, when the baby's about to be born. It doesn't matter where people are nowadays. They will spare no expense to indulge in their narcissism, grab their phone, and record everything for attention. That is just the way people's brains have been conditioned to respond to everything, thanks to the internet, technology, and social media. So he needs to get off his soapbox complaining about that, because that's just normal human behavior nowadays. And for him to get on his soapbox and complain about that, to me, shows how he doesn't really do shows like that anymore. Not the way he used to, because there's no way that you can be put off by that if you are still actively doing live shows, because if you were, you'd know people do this kind of stuff all the time. So I'm not really sure what you're frustrated about by complaining about these things. People are intrinsically narcissistic nowadays, and there's nothing that any of us can do to rewire that programming. So to complain about it, to me, is to engage in an exercise in futility. So that's the whole thing about him complaining about people being on their phones. Now to the whole aged out part of it, because that to me is at the crux of this. And this is where I'm going to say I don't like what he had to say, because he and his cohort has no one to blame but themselves. The only reason why people like Busta Rhymes is aged out of hip hop is because they aged themselves out. I've been on record on this channel many times before when we've discussed this kind of subject matter, and I've said, of all of the various genres of music, from what I can tell, hip hop is the most age centric. Hip hop culture, more than any other form of music, is the one that is the most likely to age you out of it, because the content of the music pretty much stipulates that once you've grown to a certain age or reach a certain level of maturity, that content can no longer possibly resonate with you unless you have firsthand experience with it. So as a result, you become a bit disenchanted by it, and you just fall back on it and you stop listening to it. Part of the reason why that happens is because the market continues to get flooded with these tweens who are making the same kind of music. So the only people who are going to respond to that music is fellow tweens, Gen Zers, 19, 20, 21 to 25-year olds. Once you hit 30, there's no way that this stuff resonates with you. So you don't care to listen to it anymore. You're no longer a part of the fold. People like Busta Rhymes, who come from our generation, should have been more diligent in staying active in the game instead of basically drifting off into semi-retirement. The only rapper from our generation who I can tell who's like not doing that is Nas. And I mean, anybody else, people in the comments, or if anybody in the chat can point me in a different direction. I don't know any other rapper who comes from that 90s era, who's like late 40s and early 50s, who's still actively making music on a regular basis, still actively doing live performances on a regular basis. Like, that's how you keep generations involved in the music. The artists from their generations need to stay making music and keeping themselves current. But as you get older and you decide that you want to drift off into semi-retirement, which from what I can tell is what Busta Rhymes did, how can you expect to show up at an Essence Fest and feel the love and feel like everybody should be standing at attention whenever you give a performance? Like, you go on so many hiatuses and you just kind of go off into semi-retirement so often, you don't resonate with these kids out here. So no one's going to care. And I went back and I looked at Busta Rhymes' you know, catalog. And up until 2012, he was consistent, and then in 2012, he goes on this long hiatus before he releases his next album 8 years later in 2020. And then after 2020, he puts out another album in 2023. My thing is like, you got to be current and consistent if you want to remain within the collective consciousness of future generations, lest you'll age yourself out. And you really have no one to blame but yourself. So what disappoints me a lot with this culture and this music, and I don't see that as much with other, like, you look at people like Jennifer Lopez, she might be washed up, but she's still trying to stay in the game. Like, whether, if I'm looking at country and I'm looking at pop, some of these other genres, rock, especially country, I think I notice it the most in country. But when these people get 40, 50, 60, they still trying to keep it, they still trying to keep it moving. Like, they're not going to allow the culture of music to dictate that because they reach a certain age, they're supposed to just drift off into semi-retirement and just act like, oh, I did my thing, I'm leaving it up to the next generation. Like, who made these rules? Who made these rules? So I think Busta Rhymes has no one to blame but himself for these complaints. He alone is not solely responsible, obviously, but I think that whole era, I mean, go down the list. A lot of these guys ain't really active like that. They leaving it up to the young bucks. And if you leave it up to the young bucks, you're hard pressed to show up to a venue that is largely populated by said young bucks and think that they're going to be completely engaged in what you got in what you got going on. Like, you should have stayed consistent with it throughout the entirety of your career instead of going into quasi-retirement and thinking that you can just pop out whenever you feel like it and everyone's going to care like it was still 2005. So it is what it is. But I think him, who else? Who was that? Method Man? Hell, all of them. Him, the leaders of the new school, Method Man, Wu-Tang, everybody from that era, because they all pretty much did the same thing, just stop being active. All of them need to just start, like we said before, go on your cruise tours, go on your Jazz in the Gardens tours, find that crowd that is looking for the 50, 60 plus, and just go ahead and live in that world. Because unless you're going to stay as consistent as these young guys, you're not going to go to Essence Fest and get the kind of reception you're looking for.
Well, I think, but that's why I said, like, he shouldn't go to these types of things, and neither should Method Man, for that matter, go to these type of large things where there's a number of names on the ticket, and you just so happen to be one for the old heads. But, the old heads are sprinkled in the crowd, amongst all of these younger people that are at this fest. So you're going to get humbled amongst all these young people. And that's what he had to experience. If he, I'm pretty sure he does his own small venue shows or does his stuff in New York or other places where he's, making sure he stays active. He's not doing any major tours, but I'm sure he does a show here, a show there. But whenever he's doing these venues, I'm sure he's doing well, and the people know the stuff. There's recall. That's your people. And at this point, Busta has to realize he's a niche person, and he's not, or niche for all you niche people. and so, yeah, he's a niche. He's got a niche lane. And so pretty much that's the only people that's going to be showing up to your shows and showing you the love and the energy that you want. But to go to like a situation like this, this is not 2005 where everybody would have been like, hey, it's Busta Rhymes. Hell, it's a movie at this point, but now when he get up there, honestly, I don't even know what he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? Now he's got some hits that I'll still listen to occasionally, but he's not going to be doing those for the most part. I'm sure he's going to be doing his 2010s type of stuff where he's just rapping super fast and you don't even know what he's saying. But this is what I'm saying. Like, for these people, Busta has actually just become a caricature of himself. Like, he's a caricature. Like, he's actually just like when he started doing the Ozempic or whatever the hell he was doing, and it was like a meme of him going around with him like super duper skinny on a beach, just looking wild with these new veneers and stuff. And he's just got this new type. He just pops out every other year, like you said, but always with a new look. It's weird because now he's like, I'm gonna kill him with this one type energy. It's like, bro, you ain't killing nobody with this. You're looking crazy. It looked like you're still trying to be on. And at your age, bro, you need to act your age. And so what he's doing too much is trying to be a rapper so much. And that's why you got at some point, I don't even know if he even knows what his real name is at this point. He is officially Busta Rhymes. He's Busta. And he carries himself in that energy. And I'm pretty sure I've seen interviews of him where he was trying to talk about getting in a particular mindset. Like, you got to be in this mindset all the time so you can take yourself to the next level and be great or whatever. And what I honestly believe is that he took himself to an area where he's this Busta Rhymes character and he never turns it off because he feels like that's what gives him his mojo. And what ends up happening is these out of touch, weird types of things that happen for somebody that's trying to be on in an industry predicated towards young people. So then he'll do these cringe type things instead of acting his age bracket. And like you mentioned with Nas and stuff, yeah, he's doing his thing under the radar, and people that's tuning in is checking in and peeping it and enjoying it, But it's age appropriate, And there's others who make age appropriate stuff. So I don't even know what Busta raps about in order to declare it age appropriate or not, So don't get me wrong, guys. If you check the playlist, I got Busta Rhymes in it. So I'm not around here trying to dog the man. It's just wild how these people actually turn out to be. They don't find themselves later. That they actually just become these people and stay those people. So yeah, man, it's tough, man. So yeah, just don't perform at these large venues no more. Do your own little in the pocket, type of things. That way you can get all the love and adoration that you still have out here. They're just not concentrated at these young people events anymore. And last thing I'll say is that these young people do turn up. I see stuff online where they have these concerts where the vibe is the vibe and they all jumping up and down in unison, phone and all, and they're going berserk. So there's still young people that would attend the type of thing. It's just what kind of energy are you conveying and giving to the people? And if you bust around and you come out there with Spliff Star and all this other stuff, and you wave your hands, y'all, and people like, wave your hands. Who does that again? It's like that's what part about it that's like is weird to me. So best of luck to you, Busta. Hope you find yourself in all of this stuff. But I highly doubt it. Crazy
stuff. I hear all of that. My thing is just the industry already does enough to age out generations because they just are hyper focused on the youth, and it already does enough to age out fan bases of previous generations because they're hyper obsessed with the next generation of fan bases. You exacerbate that problem when you as an artist decide that you're just going to kind of drift off into quasi retirement and not remain active and consistent. Like, one of the reasons why Nas remains a draw today is because he's consistent still, even though he's a previous generation rapper. So like, I know kids personally, like I know some Gen Zers and younger people now who are familiar with Nas, not because he made Stillmatic in 2001, but because he made Magic 3 in 2023. So that's the thing. Like, you gotta be on it, man. That's all. You just gotta be on it. And you do yourselves no favors when you are just not as consistent. Generational, thing aside. You just got to be consistent. And that's the thing with people like him, in my opinion. And I've never been the hugest Busta Rhymes follower, but he's somebody whom, because he does come from my generation, whenever something happens, I at least look it up to see what it is so that I can just be aware of what's going on. And you can't just go on these 8-year hiatuses with albums and do appearances here or there and then stick to your niche crowd. And then when you branch out, you're shell shocked because people aren't giving you the reception that you think you should get. I guarantee you that if Nas was at that Essence Fest, he would have got a much bigger, grander reception than Busta Rhymes. They're both around the same age. It's less because of generations and phones and more because Nas is still actively in the studio and he keeps putting out music and content on a very regular basis. If you want to continue to remain within the mindset of all generations of music listeners, whether they're young, old, I don't give a damn. The least that you can do is remain active. And that's where he falls short. And a lot of people in his generation, in my opinion, fall short in that regard. So, I got a lot of complaints about hip hop culture the hip hop music as an industry and a business and the way that it operates. Look at some of our previous videos. I bitch about that stuff a lot. But I also am honest enough to say that a lot of these artists exacerbate the issue because they just relegate themselves to being, a dog and pony show that pops out every couple of years to do a reunion tour or a reunion show at a festival. And then they get upset because people don't know who they are, what their music is. Well, whose fault is that? So I say good luck to Busta, man. Him and Method Man need to collaborate, get together, and figure something out. But they're smart guys.
Stay away from him, Method Man. Stay away from this dude. Get well, Busta.
They'll get it together. They'll figure it out, hopefully.